Hello guys, and welcome back to this series. In the last series we looked at how to use data template selector to change the look of your application based on the content of the list. Now in today's video we'll be looking at handlers, and we want to use handlers to change the look of our control. For example, you can see that in the last video when we had an entry on the page, there is this line on the line for Android, and most of the time you have this rounded corner for Windows and then for iOS. So we want to use handlers to change the look and feel of those controls, and then we also use handlers to change the look and feel of some other controls that we're going to be using within the app. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video.
Alright guys, so this was where we left off in the last video. We'll go to create this page. However, if I select this entry, you can see that we have this default line that is showing here, and this is also going to show when we're using the editor, the date picker, the time picker, just like we have in our design. So in our design here, there's a place we're going to use the date picker, we're going to use the time picker, and then for this for the contents of the notes, we're going to use editor. So all this will have all this lines that we don't want. So we're going to use the handler to modify the look and feel of this control. All right, so I'm going to stop this now. And in order to work with handlers, what I'm going to do is go to our controls. I'm putting this in a control because it's similar to, it's control related. I can as well put it in common and just put it in control. So I'm going to create a class, and that class, I'm going to name the class handlers. So say handlers like so, and then this is going to be a static class because we want to be able to configure our handlers. I want to be able to call this class as a static class. So just say public static, and in here we're going to have a method called registered handlers. So public static method register handlers, and right here we have different things that we want to configure. So the entry, the picker, the date picker, and the time picker, and the editor. So we're going to have 3 methods here, and in those methods are where we're going to configure the handlers. So let's start with the entry. Configure entry. Let's generate this. It's also going to be a static private method. And in order to work with handlers, we're going to use the Microsoft.MAUI.handlers. So just say Microsoft.MAUI.handlers .entry handler. Then we're going to call the mapper, append to mapping. Now, what do you want to append to mapping? We want to map the name of entry and then we're going to have so with this, I think we're going to put this is going to end with a semicolon, but let's quickly add it so that we don't forget. So we're going to have the name, and then we need action. So that's the name is going to be the key actually, and then we need the action. So the action is going to be let's use a lambda expression here, and in the lambda expression we will use we'll need some let's say handler, so that we can have a reference to the handler, comma the view. So the handler, that is the handler that we're currently working with, and then the view is going to be our entry. You can see I entry you can see this is the I entry handler. So, and now in here, because there's a tendency for things to go wrong, we want to wrap things in a try catch. So I'm going to just say try and catch. So if anything goes wrong, just probably just give us the what's it called in the debug. So just say debug dot write line ex. Okay, so we want to be able to see what went wrong. And so now here we want to check, we want to confirm that our handler is indeed entry. So if view is entry, so now we are sure that our view is actually entry, we can go ahead and then work with and modify things. So so now, because this is at the MAUI level, we have to do platform specific implementation. So we have to check for iOS, for Android, and for Windows and other platforms that you're actually working with. So right there, you want to use things like if underscore Android underscore. Sorry, you have to put hash here. The hash if, yeah, underscore say else if. For this one is else if. Come on, why are you changing it for me? So okay, the same. I think I know why. Say else if. So that is why you have to always put the hash here. So I'm going to move this back to this part so that so if underscore iOS. So now IntelliSense is working now because I'm doing the right thing. If is underscore Windows. Windows is not showing. So probably Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows. Okay, we'll just say Windows actually. Windows underscore. And then we can now end the if statements. End if statements. All right, so with this now, the Android goes in here, the iOS goes in here, the Windows goes in here. If you have other platform, you have to do else if for those ones. All right, so before, if you want to change the want to remove the line for Android in .NET 6, 7, and I think other early version, you're going to do something like this. Let me see. I'm going to set the background color of the handler and set it to transparent, and then set the background to null. So we're going to do something like say this. Let me just comment this out. So we're going to say something like this, and then we'll try to run it. But before we run it, there's no way we are calling this method yet, right? So nothing's going to happen. And for you to call this method, you can call it in your MAUI programs if you want to, but I like to just call it when the app is starting in the app.xamarin.cs. So just make sure you call it as at the point the app is starting up. So I'm going to go to app.xamarin.cs, and just right where we have the shell here before the main page loads, I'm going to do handlers. It's going to put in namespace dot register handlers. I'm just going to call it like this. So our handlers will be registered. So if I run this now, you will see that this is not going to work because we're using .NET 8, and that's something I found out. If it works, then I'm going to be surprised. So platform, let's see, we need to change bring a namespace to platform is using MAUI platforms. Yeah, we're going to remove this data run. So now let's run this, because this is no longer working. So if you are surprised that if you're trying to use the same method back in .NET 7 and it's not working, then you should know why it's not working. So let's quickly run this and let's see if we're able to confirm this. If it works, I've tried it, it's not working, but you know, never can tell. Maybe there's a backward compatibility that has been done in the recent updates of MAUI. I'm not quite sure. I've not tested it then. I've tested it when .NET 8 came out. So fingers crossed. So this is loading. Once it's loaded, I'm going to navigate to the next page where we have a control. So navigate to the next page where we have a control. If I click on this, as you can see, it's not working. So the way to remove this in .NET 8 is now different. It's there's a line of code rather than 2 lines of code, and it looks kind of weird actually because it's kind of long. So I'm going to remove this. So undo the namespace, remove this. So it's going to be something along the line of handler, rather, we're calling it handler dot platform view, and then we're going to find the background tint list. So dot background tint list, and then you're going to set that to a color state list and value of transparent. So to do that, you will need to bring in a namespace for Android.content.rel, I think resolution or something. But if you put the namespace here, you're going to fall into a challenge when you are trying to run the program, because it will tell you that you cannot find that namespace for for iOS and for Windows. So we're going to use a full qualified namespace here. So you're going to type it all out: Android.content.res. Then we're going to find the color state list dot value of, and in this we're going to pass in the Android dot graphics. Let me bring this dot color dot transparent. See, it's kind of long, and let's finish with a semicolon. So if I run this now, the underline should disappear. Let's see, the line should disappear. So go to the next page, and then as you can see, when I click, we can't see the underline again, it has disappeared. So now I'm going to stop this. So for iOS, I don't know where the iOS disappeared to. I must have deleted it when I was deleting something. So let me just add it back. If underscore iOS underscore. So for that, what we're going to do is to clear the background color. Depending on, I think, the version of iOS you're working with, this is supposed to probably be sufficient, but in order to be safe, so let me just change this to iOS so that we're able to see. Come on, yeah, so we're able to see this and make sure that there's no error. So this should be sufficient. However, just to be on the safer side, once you set the border width to 0, and then we'll set the border style to none. Yeah. So this should still work for iOS. However, I've not actually tested it fully, so I'm not quite sure. For Windows, we're going to do something along this line. The border thickness. So let me just change this to Windows so that we can see it and make sure that there's no error. So what we're going to do for Windows is that we're going to set the thickness, so just something like this along this line. So we're going to set the border thickness to 0. We're going to set the background brush to null, and the platform background to null. I don't know what, because this is saying Windows 10, maybe that is why. I don't have any other Windows, so I could just say if it is Windows, I think. Oh yeah, so we don't need the underscore for Windows because it's just taking Windows. So we check this thickness to 0, border brush to null, and this one to null, and this should work. Now all other controls follow this a similar pattern. So for entry, for entry, for editor, for time picker, for which other one is there, for date picker, they follow the same pattern. So what I'm going to do is to for editor now, I'm just gonna bring in the code here. So let's go for editor and configure it. Generate method, and then in the generated method I'm going to paste in the subsequent code. So as you can see, we're checking the background tint list for Android and setting the value to transparent. For iOS, setting the border width to 0, and then for Windows we are doing the same thing that we have done for the entry. I'm going to do for picker also. So let's generate this method, and for picker also we're going to have something similar to this. So I'm removing the exception, so we have this value, and let's not how I should do it. I'm supposed to copy the handler. That's one error when you're copying. Just trying to save time because it's the same thing that we've done. I just want to do it. So you can see it's the same value that we've used here, almost the same value that we've used here, and the value that we've used here. So this will remove all the border and the background. So configure editor. I wonder what the issue is with this. A name statement directly match the statements. Okay, I think it's from the last thing I copied. Yeah, it's from the last thing I copied. I was just talking about the dangers of copying. So this is what I've just copied in. It follows the same thing that's done, and then I'll put some code snippet in the blog post to be able to see the full code in the snippets. All right, so that's for that. So I'm going to do for date picker and for time picker, and then we'll wrap up this this video. So generate the method, and then gonna bring in the code, the corresponding code for this. So this is the corresponding code for this. And lastly, for the time picker, we will also bring in the code for the time picker, which is the last one. So now with these handlers that we've created, when we are using our controls, we will just see that automatically we don't have all the borders, the outline, the underline, everything would have disappeared. So yeah, so if I run this app again, let's run it just to be sure that there's no error, and test our entry to be sure that it's still fine. So go to the next page, and then you can see that our entry is still fine.
Alright guys, we've come to the end of this video. We've been able to use handlers to change the look of our control. And if you have been having issues on how to do this with .NET 8, based on some of the changes that happen in the course of the update, you've seen how you can handle it. And don't forget, this is one video in many videos in this series. So you want to check out other videos, use the link in the description below or as is shown on your screen to check out those other videos. The next video in this series after now is to use control templates to change the look of your controls. See you then.